Well, that was awkward. So my recording software crashed. As you saw from the very little thumbnail of my world, I did look around a little bit with the X-ray pack. Turns out there are a lot more silverfish in the area. Oh my lord, so many silverfish. There's also a lot of lava nearby, so I do need to be careful when digging down low. That being said, I switched the X-ray pack back to the entity pack that we are used to, so that we do not have much in the way of strange viewing patterns. We want our viewing patterns normal, please, and thank you. I took out a small silverfish section here, which allowed me to, and over here, which allowed me to, so it allowed me to make sure that I had properly salvaged all of my section here. You will notice that hefty blue tint suddenly started appearing. Also, you might notice the place looks a lot brighter. What that blue tint signifies is that is, for the briefest moment usually, the point where mobs are able to spawn. So, for example, when I mine the block out, before the lighting updates, the area is very blue. For example, if I cover this up, you can see that whole section over there turns blue. The reason for that is specifically because there's silverfish here of all places. Yep, there is. Where you punks at? I'll take you all on. So yeah, the reason for it turning blue like that is simply because it is dark enough for mobs to spawn there. However, as I reveal this lantern here, it reveals a light source, therefore the light source forces it so that monsters aren't able to spawn there anymore. I am thinking about just ignoring the whole silverfish ordeal. They are noisy, so I will need to, of course, exterminate any silverfish that become a problem. But in the meantime, I think the silverfish might be fine without getting absolutely, utterly exterminated. For now. Maybe not later, but for now, they're fine. Temporarily. So, let's see, what was I mentioning last time? I believe I mentioned my Patreon page, Renewable resources, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, what was it? Yeah, you basically want to make sure that you handle everything the same way when building a base. You want to make sure that your base is nice and well balanced in both looks as well as utility. So yeah, the place looks nice. However, it's not just there to look pretty. You know, if it was, it wouldn't be much of a base. Yeah, I'd love it, but would I spend time there? Would I frequent that location because I enjoy looking at it? Not necessarily. There are plenty of other things I could do in my free time that would probably be a lot more productive. So I would probably go do those. For example, I could dig out the roof of my mine shaft here, my mining line. You know, reveal all of this area to some form of light source, because it's nice to have a good solid light source in your base, on your base, around your base. You know, this spreads some light into the nearby caves, allows me to block off said nearby caves so monsters don't just randomly wander into my base. This allows me to make sure that anything that does wander in the direction of my base does not have a very good time, because my base is built out of materials that are resistant to silverfist infestations, except for the cobblestone. Cobblestone is a separate matter altogether. I do need to come up with some form of idea for the walls that is not able to be infested by silverfish. So far, my ideas are basalt, which would not be a terrible choice. Basalt is a very sustainable block, very stable, very good igneous block. It's technically renewable with the right materials. Cobblestone is another option. However, cobblestone can be infested, as can smooth stone, and I believe stone brick as well. I could build it out of clay brick walls, you know, actual brick, but I don't really want to do that. I could build sand walls. That would be neat. Probably do something with sandstone. Yeah, I think I'll do sandstone walls. So sandstone walls, I don't think are able to be infested, which is great news for me. Not so great news for the silverfish, but great news for me. The capacity for expansion of my base does need to include the ability of growth. Like it needs to be able to expand. It needs to be able to grow, and that growth needs to seem organic. In addition to that base growth not getting interrupted by infestations, especially silverfish infestations, because those are just annoying to deal with. I was looking at the extent of some of the damage that the silverfish has caused, and it's easily, 200-300 blocks worth of damage already. Theoretically, I could avoid the damage from getting too bad by just deploying magma blocks at y equals 5 or y equals 6, and that would allow me to clear up a majority of the silverfish which gather. However, the majority of the silverfish are quite spread out, and they're in groups of 1 to 8 for the most part, which makes dealing with them very difficult because they're all trapped in the walls somewhere. Fortunately, they will all share one common feature, and that is they will all eventually find themselves making their way down to y equals 5, whereupon I plan to have them meet an untimely end at the hands of magma blocks. Apologies for any background noise. It sounds like the garbage pickup has recently occurred. So, of course, the dumpster's getting moved around in the background. You might occasionally hear the truck backing up. The capacity of some of these older games to be played is really quite astounding. I mention this because I was recently looking at my Steam wish list, and I found that while I was looking at my Steam wish list, I saw that Final Fantasy XI is on sale for like half off. I think I might be able to get it before the sale ends. It cut into the food budget a little, but it's a good game. It's really worth it. Final Fantasy XI, if you are not familiar, is an MMORPG. What that stands for is it is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, or massive multiplayer online role-playing game, whichever version of the phrasing you prefer. It's an MMORPG, which means A, it takes forever to do almost anything in that game. B, that game has a lot of things that can be done, a lot of things that would be great to record. It would be great for my YouTube channel if I could have the money to play it regularly. However, there is a monthly subscription fee for it. The monthly fee for owning your first character on Final Fantasy XI is, I think, roughly $12. It's 11 and change, so probably $12. However, for every extra character that you own, it's only $1 extra. Now, I have 5 characters, I think it was. So I have roughly like a $15 bill monthly that I would need to pay if I wanted to have access to all of my characters and all of my items, because I used my characters as what is known as an item mule. I allowed my character to store the items which I needed in order to prevent the need for just going out and paying ungodly amounts of money to just pass this quest to upgrade my inventory. Instead, I'm going through organically and I'm upgrading a large variety of my stuff on my own. That's one of the things that I really did well in that game. I hope my character still exists, and I also hope that I get a chance to rename my character, because I would like to go back to my original character's name. That being said, I would definitely need to upgrade my computer if I wanted to record it. The game can be played on my computer, which is surprising. All the more reason why it's such a good thing for me to acquire that game. However, despite that lovely benefit, the recording software will definitely be way too intense for me to be able to record the game. Final Fantasy XI on my computer. My computer is barely capable of handling playback of video on YouTube. Specifically, I can't even bump up the video quality on my playback of YouTube videos to 720p. I have to keep it at 480. Speaking of which, I went into my quality settings for my recordings, and you might have noticed that this video should say that it's at 720p or maybe 1080p. That is because I noticed that the recording time frame did not reduce like I thought it would when the quality was increased. Instead, it apparently relies on the megapixels. So I'm recording at 4 megapixels, but the quality got bumped up to 1080p. I hope this doesn't affect too much, but this is definitely going to help out with some of the more quality preferred types, where they prefer having things at super ultra high quality viewing for one reason or another. Not everyone's able to view it at the really high quality, but that's the great thing about YouTube. You don't need to always view it at the really high quality. You can view it at lower qualities with minimal issue, because YouTube is awesome like that. White one, red one, right? Yes. Okay. So yeah, the quality of my videos should start posting at 1080p, I hope. I am trying to fine-tune and optimize my my availability of my videos to my audience, as I want my audience to enjoy my videos, obviously. I did talk about Final Fantasy XI before, actually, now that I think about it. I mentioned the chocobos. The chocobos are, of course, little yellow flightless birds that you ride around, and the yellow birds, of course, will have various speeds that you can move at. MMOs aren't really entertaining for everybody. I understand that, as a lot of the material in an MMO, is a very difficult phrase to say in one go, and I managed it on the first try. A lot of the activities in MMOs have a tendency to be extremely repetitive and extremely time-consuming, as well as requiring a lot of preparation and also a lot of planning. You really need to know what you're doing in order to play a game like Final Fantasy XI. It's playable without knowing what you're doing, don't get me wrong. It's very playable. Very welcoming to new players, very easy to just pick up and get started. That being said, there is a learning curve, and that learning curve will be extremely steep. I fortunately am familiar with how MMOs work. I'm familiar with how specifically Final Fantasy XI works, and that gives me a bit of an edge, a bit of an advantage, if you will, over just jumping in blind. However, that doesn't mean that I'm just going to be able to pick up the game and know exactly what to do next. That's not quite how it works. There will be a recovery period, as it were, where I need to get my bearings. I need to figure out what's the current meta. I know the level sync system had introduced an entirely new meta to the game, where the meta, as it were, the automated, automatically planned, shortcut ridden, whatever you want to call it. Oh, that's another thing I could do. I could use soil. Oh, but no, I can't use soil. Enderman will pick up all the soil blocks. Choices. So, when they introduced level sync, the meta quickly became that you needed to train in Valkyrie Dunes, and you just level sync down to someone's level, and usually level 10. Valkyrie Dunes was the first place that you go for a party, because when you're level 10, you finally have the ability to level sync, which means you're now suddenly able to have your level match someone else's level, which means suddenly you are now a hot commodity, because all of a sudden everyone wants to party with you. Why, you might ask? Simple. Once you have leveled up, you of course need to move on to bigger and better prey. However, if you have another party member show up who is also level 10 on whatever account they're on, then you will find that the challenge of finding a new location to train suddenly becomes a lot less challenging. You don't have as big of an issue, as big of a hurdle all of a sudden, because for the most part your character is quite heavily wanted. You're a hot commodity, you know? you're able to get away with a lot more stuff simply by virtue of being able to be to be able to stick around a lot longer. Let me craft some lapis and enchant some of these pickaxes. Okay. What do you give me? Unbreaking? Sure. What about you? Efficiency. You? Unbreaking. I really need an anvil down here. Unbreaking and efficiency. See, now I might want to actually upgrade my pickaxes. And the way I do that is with an anvil. So I want to swap out those while I... what was I going to do? Oh, right. Other items. Efficiency, sharpness. I suppose I could give it sharpness. Bane of Arthropods, sharpness. Not really. Not in the Bane of Arthropods type of mode. Oops. What about for the shears? Nothing for the shears. Shears can be enchanted. You just need to enchant a book and then apply the book to the shears. Blast protection 2, not bad. What about this one? Aqua affinity, unbreaking, or blast protection. I'll take the aqua affinity. And that is how you enchant. Now I need to hurry over to these items that were left on the ground. Oh no, that's right, I picked up all the items. Here, I was worried. But yeah, Final Fantasy XI has the potential to be very good for the channel, very good for Square Enix too, because I'll be wanting to record it. I might want to email Square Enix and ask them about maybe building me a computer for a sponsorship. I'd play their game for like a year and do YouTube videos on their game if they build me a really good gaming computer. I might try and get in contact with them about that, because that sounds like a really good idea, and I know Square Enix definitely has the money for it, so that would be a possibility. I will definitely take that into consideration for the channel. As I mentioned before, I am looking for a sponsor. I will, of course, be able to grow my channel as a Square Enix online MMORPG type channel. The payment methods, as previously discussed for Final Fantasy XI, the fees are $12 for the first character, $1 for each additional character. A lot of people think that might sound expensive. However, here's something to consider. World of Warcraft players, from what I heard, paid $7 per character. That doesn't sound like much, except you have to keep in mind that the concept of an item mule is not something that is alone is alone in the world of Final Fantasy XI. This concept has spread from games such as Ragnarok Online, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Final Fantasy XI. All of these MMOs that I just listed, and even Phantasy Star Online, Episode 1 and 2 Plus, had this concept where you would store your items on other characters and transfer them freely between your characters through one method or another. Final Fantasy XI has this method rather easily streamlined. They seem to pay attention to all of the different minute details involved. The concept of transferring items from one player character to another is actually quite easy. They have a mail system that they use where you can just send the item, or you can, send money to a person. That's also an option. That might have been disabled since I stopped playing. You might not be able to send money anymore. That would definitely stop the real money traders. But they definitely wanted people to be able to share their wealth. They wanted people to be able to say, okay, here is a secure way where you can verify, yes, I have this, yes, I claimed it, I picked it up, so on and so forth. My character, when I played Final Fantasy XI, was rather uniquely named using, what would it be, phonic, altered word, like phonic spelling. So I was playing as, for my main character, a Mithra. A Mithra is a cat girl, basically. There are male Mithras, but they are all back in the Mithra homeland. So there are no male adventurer Mithras, but there are male Mithras. The Mithra being, a cat, I wanted to have a clever name. So I named my original character Feline. Phelyne, which was immediately picked up on by multiple people. So many people recognized it. They were like, oh, hey, Feline, that's clever. I like that. They could clearly tell I was an English speaker because of the way I spelled it. You don't do that in other languages where you just switch it out for a different one. You have to usually switch it out using a similar phonetic cipher. So if you're speaking in French, for example, you would use some form of French for what you switch it out for. I used English, so it was very obvious that I was an English speaker, and people would speak to me in English. However, when I recreated my character on a different account, because my friend had done a lot of the progress himself, and I was like, well, I want to do it myself. I want to have my own progress. So I remade my character, and when I did, I named it Feline 2. Now this didn't go over as well because I used the Roman numeral spelling of 2. So when read back, it kind of got weird. The playback of a name in the Roman numeral 2 is not as easy to pronounce, much less, recognize. When you're sitting there and you're trying to have a in-depth discussion about things, and they're like, "Oh, how do you pronounce your name? Felony?" It's like, no, it's feline too. I had that discussion repeatedly, so many times, so many times. So it's something that is worth noting when you're creating a character in an MMO, that sometimes the way that things are set up will not exactly pan out in a method that you think that they will. That's not to say, however, that you shouldn't try. I mean, you should definitely try. You should just be careful of things not always going your way. I should mine this out. There we go. But yeah, the majority of the damage from the silverfish is over there, by the way. It's definitely a lot of damage from those silverfish. It's nuts. Let's see, what did I need? I needed this. I needed to grab these. I needed to grab these. Oops. Not the dirt. The granite. I need the granite. I need andesite as well, but I need more than just block form. Yeah. So, yeah, it's getting to the point where I am starting to need to actually expand towards this direction on the roof, which is good. It's good to need to expand, because that means that as you expand, you will find that you are better able to do things. That works well as a philosophy in MMOs as well. As you expand your capacity for what you're able to do, you'll find that what you want to do becomes a lot more open, a lot more available, a lot more flexible. You won't be as restrained by things such as aggro. In the words of Kirito, am I the only one who plays this game who understands how aggro works? So yeah, a lot of SAO bridge quotes. Really good show. The concept of an MMO is not foreign to me. I could play FF11. I'm skilled enough to know what I'm doing in it. I'm competent in my abilities. So I'm not just some noob who has no idea what I'm doing, who has no idea how to play. I do actually know how to play. I know how to use the auto-translate system in Final Fantasy XI, which confuses some people. I had one guy who thought I knew French, and it's like, no, I don't know how to speak French. I just know how to use the auto-translate system. Please use the auto-translate system. One of the few full sentences that is actually auto-translated is the request to use the auto-translate system. It's quite the funny little irony there. because then people, of course, think, oh, you know how to use it. And it's like, no, I don't. But, you know, hit the tab key. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Or you tell them, hit tab key, and they're like, what? It's like, what device are you on? Believe it or not, those are actually very, very common conversation points in Final Fantasy XI. Why am I missing so much on where I'm trying to tap? Yeah, very common conversation points. There is a lot of things that I could go on about for Final Fantasy XI. There's all kinds of tricks and tactics to use. My first character was a rogue, or a thief as they're known in the game. They were very, very skilled, considering I had no idea what I was doing half the time. I would say I was doing pretty well. I like to consider myself decently able to traverse the area of, I think it was Venedale is the place's name. I'm going to dig this up and just take it over here because I continuously am going to need more stairs, and I don't want to have to ride a minecart all the way back just to get more stairs. That's kind of annoying. Okay. So let's start with the andesite. Let's start with a dozen. The progression system of Final Fantasy XI is not the most unique. I mean, it's still going out, killing a bunch of things, level up, that kind of stuff. Very straightforward. The capacity for attention to detail, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I need 5 granite stairs. The capacity for attention to detail is, of course, limited by the fact that they, of course, only are able to do so much. I need 6 granite slabs. They're only able to do so much with what limited resources they have for the console that they built it for, which was cross-platform at the time, which means it's actually quite the impressive feat that they were able to do so much. Oh, I already had the slabs, of course. That's the one thing that I have left over is a bunch of diorite slabs. Okay. So yeah, I would like to be able to record Final Fantasy XI gameplay footage, but as I mentioned, I would need to get in contact with Square Enix about some form of sponsorship deal where they help me build a gaming computer that is suited for recording, and then if everything works out well, I would be able to take that deal and I would be able to utilize it to hopefully the fullest of capacity as I as I go forth to play Final Fantasy XI MMORPG. I don't think anyone that I used to know still plays it, much less I don't think the server I used to play on is still around. If it is, however, I would love to play it again. I would love to really get that game popular. I know a lot of game developers think that an MMO only has a certain amount of lifespan before it's stale. That's not entirely true, as there are a lot of people who still want to just play the game, you know? They'll go out, they'll get all of the little events done, they'll do all of the quests, and they'll get all of their little costumes and stuff that they can unlock. There was one costume that I missed out on that allowed the player to just turn into a Moogle, for example. I would love to be able to transform into a Moogle on that game because that looked absolutely adorable. It's a very, very rare item because of the limited release of the item. And from what I could tell, there was no recharge on it or anything, so you didn't really have any way to recover the the costume uses, which was very sad because the Moogle looked very cute. The Moogle, of course, being the little floofy white bear that has the little red bonbon on their head. They're very adorable creatures. And Moogles are also supposed to be peaceful and helpful and all this other stuff. So that's very kind, you know, very sweet. Wholesome is the right word, I think. Yeah, it's a very wholesome look. You get to see a lot of different creatures when you play that game. There's a lot of mythical creatures that they talk about. Not necessarily directly. Sometimes they talk about them indirectly by utilizing different names, or maybe they'll call them by their mythological name instead of their commonly used name. For example, you know, they might say, for example, Emotep, which, okay, yeah, some people know who Emotep is. However, if you just called him a mummy, everyone knows what a mummy is. So, yeah, there's that. And of course, you know, Emotep is famous from the Mummy series. Emotep was an actual Egyptian dude who apparently, like, did some bad things or something, but whatever, right? You know? Who was he? Who knows? Who cares? Because, honestly, unless they, like, come back to life, I don't really see a relevance in learning who they were, because they're not still alive to, you know, continue being relevant to everything going on. If they were, then, well, obviously they're still relevant, and there's still a point to learn their name and learn who they are and all that, but since they're dead, well, they're dead. That's fine. You know, it's fine that they're dead. It really doesn't matter. some people might not like that point of view. That's fine. You know, great thing about America, you're entitled to your opinion. And if you don't like that, well, then I have the freedom of speech, because I live in America, to tell you to go blow it out your ass. Because that's freedom of speech. It's like, I don't like how you talk. Okay, I don't like you telling me how to talk. So go away. It's like, I don't like that you said that. You don't have to. Okay? That's the beauty of America. You cannot like what I say all you want over there. America is very useful for that. However, I need to throw the gold in there, pull the iron out of there, put the iron away, put the diorite away. Let's just do this. Put that there, 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 that there. There we go. That's better. Pull the coal out, pull the iron out. Crafting table, coal blocks. One more iron pickaxe. Let's go for an iron axe too while we're at it. And why not? An iron sword as well. Then I need to grab my lapis, because I'm going to spend some levels on this. For the iron axe, what's it offering? Sharpness, efficiency, and smite. No thanks. Unbreaking, efficiency, unbreaking. You know what? I will grab the unbreaking. Oh, unbreaking efficiency. Okay. So those two are getting merged for sure. Oh, oops. I meant to check what the axe was offering. Iron sword apparently doesn't have very much to offer. That being said, I am now down to level 1, so I need to gather more levels. Let me grab this kelp, restock the furnace here, put away the lapis, put away the dried kelp. Okay, so I have a bunch of stuff. I have a bunch of stuff that I need to merge. I will end up with an unbreaking. Let's see. Looks like I'll have an unbreaking 3 pickaxe with efficiency 2. My extra efficiency iron pickaxe will not be enough for me to progress to efficiency 3. I need one more efficiency 1 iron pickaxe for that. However, I also need to carve up these pumpkins. So I shall do that right now. Now I want, let's see, I want up here, because I want three tall, and then on the other side, starting there, there we go. I will need some new shears before this is done. Let's see how far I get. Ah, so close. Not really. Random helicopter flying nearby. Okay. Doot, 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 doot. Make sure I didn't accidentally drop anything in there. Nope. Okay. Switch back to the shears and away we go. Boop, 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 boop. So yeah, this is definitely helping me fill out the various parts of my base that were somewhat lacking. Now that I have a surplus of jack-o'-lanterns, my surplus of lanterns are going to definitely allow me to expand mine a lot more. Oh, that is so tempting to just go right there right now. So, the lightning strikes of Minecraft are rather unique. The lightning specifically is able to spawn a skeleton horse trap, as well as zombie pigmen. But the skeleton horse